What is your relationship like? Very often when clients come to me, we work on one of the other areas of their lives. It could be life, it could be business. But you know what's the most interesting thing? Inevitably, we'll always go back to their relationships. And this is the most interesting thing. Your relationships will always affect your life. It will always also affect your business or your career. Because when you don't feel fulfilled, when you don't feel 100%, when you don't feel like something is right back home at your relationships, this one actually you will not feel happy 100% at work as well. That's why it's really important to remember that whatever happens in your relationships, it's something what should be discussed, something what must be addressed, something what must be always brought up to the surface with your partner. And if you think about relationships, I believe there are 3 C's which are really important. It is chemistry, it is connection, and it is commitment. The order doesn't really matter, because when you think about it, connection will not be happening without great communication. And also chemistry is not possible to build without connection. But also commitment will never be there if you don't have great connection and if you don't have great chemistry. I can see some people are joining me. Thank you so much for joining, Howard, on YouTube, and also some people on LinkedIn. It's wonderful to see you, and also I can see some people join me here on Facebook. Feel free to ask me your questions. If you have any, I'm here to help. Today, I would like to bring something new, something fresh, maybe to you to think about, to consider, and also start applying in your life. I'm not sure how about you, but I've been in a relationship where actually I grew apart with my husband. And that was really painful because he was a great man, and he still is a great man. But we just simply grew apart. And we grew apart because, well, first of all, we were way too young. Like, we didn't know ourselves. We were not aware of what do we want and what we don't want. Just like when I work with my clients, many of them would be married since they were young. And of course, one of the partners will be developing themselves, will be learning, will be growing, and another partner will be not. And that's exactly what very often is causing this big gap in between couples, because they grow apart. So as I mentioned, connection, chemistry, and commitment. How do we build that? How do we make sure that actually we have great connection? How do we make sure that we actually build great chemistry? As I mentioned earlier on, it is all about communication. If you don't have healthy communication in relationships, if you don't speak about something that really worries you, if you don't open up with your partner, how do you expect your partner to open up with you? Here it's important to remember that very often people forget how important it is to be vulnerable. Because when you're raw, when you open up, this is when you build even stronger connection. Have you noticed how sometimes maybe you will watch somebody on YouTube, like motivational speaker, or maybe you'll watch some inspirational video somewhere else, and there's always a story, and that story always has a lot of pain, lots of challenges, lots of things which that person was overcoming. And how did you feel about that person? You felt connected, right? You felt that you can relate sometimes, and sometimes you did not. But you were so grateful for them opening up. And the question is, did you judge them? Very often the answer is no. You feel for them. You want to give them a cuddle. You want to appreciate them. You want to thank them for being so open, for being so honest. But exactly the same happens in our relationships. So here what I invented, and so far it actually helped so many of my clients, including me as well, because I prefer to walk my talk. Because if I haven't tried what I'm passing on to the world, how do I know if it works? Right? So this is something what I did myself, and also it's something what my clients are doing too. It is called relationship journal. I'm sure you heard about personal journal, and I'm sure you heard probably about business journal, but have you heard about relationship journal? This is something which actually will help you to learn more about each other with your partner, but also it will help you to understand more yourself, to dive deeper into the depths of your soul and your heart together with your partner, which is really beautiful. Thank you so much, Howard, for this amazing comment here on YouTube. And by the way, if somebody cannot see this comment because it is on YouTube, but with my platform, I actually can see comments from all platforms. It is refreshing to hear you describe your ex-husband as a great man. Yes, Howard. And I strongly believe that whenever people separate, and I work with lots of couples on co-parenting and civil relationships after breakup, because many couples, they don't understand the importance of staying friends, staying civil to each other, being in good relationship, especially when you have children. So if somebody is struggling with co-parenting, if somebody is struggling with actually their ex-partner, ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, get in touch with me, because I help so many people to realign their relationships. And I did myself as well. Just as Howard says, yes, we do have great relationships, and he's a great man. And it's not his fault we grew apart. It's not my fault we grew apart. It just happened because we both didn't know how. The same things happen with some of my clients. They grew apart as well. Of course, there'll be some other issues in the relationships. That's inevitable, right? It's inevitable to face some difficulties and challenges. But when you are meeting the three criteria, which is connection, which is chemistry, and also communication, commitment, this one actually you will be able to build really strong relationships. All right, so let me describe to you what's relationship journal. And by the way, if you would like to receive a copy of that, I can send you a digital 7-week challenge, which will allow you learn about yourself and your partner. It is only 7 weeks. You only have to write down once a week in that journal, but it will allow you to learn more about yourself and, as I said, about your partner as well. If you want a copy of that, please send me a private message or type your contact details, email address if you want in the comments. If you don't want to share your email address, in that case, just send a message in the comments, say, yes, please send it to me, and I'll reach out to you and I'll send it to you personally. It will be not automated. It will be actually a personal message from me with 7-week relationship journal. So let me tell you more about that journal. There are, I think, 7 questions. Yes, there are 7 questions. And 7 questions, they're based on discovering each other. They're based on covering various areas and aspects of your relationships. So, for example, the first question is 3 favorite moments of your relationships within last 7 days. And why it's important to address this question to each other? Because when 2 people sit down, and they, of course, it's not about schooling each other, right? It's not about confronting each other. It is actually based on learning about each other and being kind to each other. So when 2 people sit down and they ask each other this question, darling, what were your 3 favorite moments of the last week? This is when you actually start paying attention and having this clear focus on only positive things. Think about your past relationships. How often you were actually paying attention to negative stuff, to the arguments you had, to something bad would happen and you were not happy about that. So it's really easy to go down that route of being even more negative. So when you sit down together with your partner and you look for 3 amazing things, amazing moments of the last 7 days, this is when actually you can discuss them again. And you can almost like relieve them again. Because what you'll find out is not something what your partner will pay attention. And you will have these beautiful giggles and you will have amazing laughters and you'll be surprised that your partner paid attention to something what you did not pay attention. So as I said earlier, if you would like to receive a copy of this relationship journal, just type below, send it to me, or send me a private message with your contact details so I can forward it to you. It will be a personal message, I promise. And the second question, which is really powerful, many couples reported back to me that made them grow so much. It is, what did you learn about your partner? And sometimes you can actually address it to yourself. What did you learn about yourself? But of course, because we all live in this little bubble, we can never see what happens with us. It's always easier to learn something about other people. So here, what did you learn? It could be towards your partner or towards yourself. But the most powerful thing, actually, you can learn a lot of new things. And again, you will have lots of giggles. And you'll be surprised how many things you can find about your partner if you really pay attention. Because what happens very often, actually, you get together with somebody and everything is so exciting. It's a first Christmas, first birthday, first football match, first cinema, first shopping trip, first holiday. Everything is so exciting. And over the time, it becomes normal. And this is when you start learning about each other. And very often you put a negative meaning into learning about your partner. Very often you say things like, oh, you changed. You never done that before. But how about if actually you will consider this as learning curve about your partner? And then the emotional meanings becomes different about that learning curve. And I like that comment from Diana, and this again is on YouTube, those who cannot see it on Facebook or maybe in LinkedIn. My brother and his wife do this with each other and their 4 children every single night. They all go through their one highlight of the day and one gratitude. The kids love bedtime and they all keep connected. Here we go. This is a live example how actually you can do that. Here it is on daily basis, which is beautiful. And I always say you don't have to do it once a week. The reason why I suggest to do it once a week, because if you've never done it before, it is quite challenging to start doing something on daily basis. But Diana, thank you so much for sharing that, because I think this is wonderful. And God bless your brother and his wife. And please send my personal hellos to them and personal great wishes to them, because I think it's something beautiful what they do, including their children. It is really, really amazing. So as you can see, some people already do that. What stops you? And thank you, Diana. I can see your public response here that you would love the relationship journal to you, send it to you. I will definitely reach out to you and I will send it to you. If anybody else would like to receive a copy, please send me a private message or comment below and I will reach out to you with relationship journal so you can improve your relationships. So far we covered 3 gratitudes or 3 amazing moments of the last 7 days, and also what did you learn about your partner. The next question is, what was your fear of the week and how did you handle that? The reason why I ask this question, because every day we are facing so many fears. It could be, what if my partner cheats on me? It could be, what if my partner doesn't love me? It could be, what if something else? And when you address this fear to your partner, this is when you show your vulnerable side. And this is when you open up and you share openly, you know what, I was really worried about that. Or maybe you were just worried that your partner was coming home quite late and you could not reach out to them and you were worried maybe something happened. That also could be fear. And if you share this with your partner, this is when you show how much you care, rather than you go into argument and you ask, why haven't called me? Why haven't texted me? I was reaching out to you and I couldn't get in touch with you. I was so mad at you and all the rest of it, right? Because that will not help. So here's really important to remember that everybody is having fears. Everyone, doesn't matter what it is the fear in the business, private life, or relationships, we have fears at every aspect and area of our life. So here, when you open up and you share your fear with your partner, you will be surprised how many different fears your partner might have. And it's quite surprising to see that actually it's quite easy to tackle them as well. All you have to do is just to suggest each other, okay, so if you think or if you're afraid that one day I will not love you, what can I do to feel you more loved? Or what can I do to reassure you? Because remember, it is about growing together. What can be more beautiful than actually seeing that couple in their 80s, 90s, still walking on the street, holding hands, or maybe that couple where he is pushing a pushchair and she's sitting in the chair and they just walk around together. Or my favorite moment when actually I see an old couple and he's going to open the door for her and he's giving her a hand. And I think this is wonderful. This is beautiful. But do you really think they got there without facing challenges? They didn't. They were growing together and they were probably discussing lots of things. One amazing couple who actually I was working with for a while, they were already in their 60s. And it was really amazing how their challenge actually was how to keep the chemistry going. And some of you probably will be surprised, like, how is it possible to discuss this in their 60s? But they wanted to keep the chemistry going. And I remember I asked them the question, what made you being together for so long? And the answer was, first of all, we always discussed things, worries, and what we wanted to do. And that's why we stayed together, because we were open with each other. And I think this is quite remarkable. Amount of couples who did that with whom I worked is enormous, because all of them, they just see the power of that. It will feel awkward in the beginning. It will feel just a bit weird in the beginning. But when you think about the power of this, if you think about the results you will achieve with Relationship Journal, that will be something what can drive you and support you and make you move on with that. So the next question is favorite intimate moment. Why is it important to talk about intimate moments? Because if there's no intimacy in relationships, that means it's a friendship, right? A healthy relationship has healthy amount of intimacy. There's no right or wrong, and my rule is whatever feels right, do that. You can discuss, but when you go back to your favorite moments of intimacy, that means you are opening up with your partner even more. Because the truth is, it's much easier to discuss favorite moments of everyday's life. It's much easier to discuss some challenges, but it's really challenging to open up in the intimate life. Because that is something what people don't discuss. And also because there's so much taboo about that. But when you think about it, when you discuss your favorite intimate moments with your partner, I haven't said with the entire world, that would be probably wrong, right? But when you discuss your favorite moment with your partner, this is when you connect even deeper. Because you share what you enjoyed, what was great for you, and your partner will share the same thing with you. And this is how you can learn more about each other, to find out your preferences and also what you don't like, because you are more than welcome to talk about it as well. All right. So far there were 4 questions which we covered. That was 3 favorite moments of the week. That what did you learn about each other or yourself? What is your fear of the week? And how did you overcome it, or how your partner can help you to overcome it? And the 4th question is the favorite intimate moment of the week. I wonder if one of these questions already can be relatable to you, if one of these questions you think could be helpful, and if you would feel comfortable answering these questions. Because some of you might not be even feeling comfortable doing that. So I really would love to find out, how do you feel so far? Which one out of 4 is your favorite question? Which one do you think will actually make you grow more than others? That'll be really good to know. So let's go to the question number 5, which is, what do you think could be improved in relationships. And there's a reason why I bring this as a question number 5, because when you start with a negative, this one actually you don't feel supported. This one you feel judged. And especially for a man, because women, they are more willing to learn, women are more inclined into asking for advice, asking for help. When it comes to men, otherwise, they don't want that. Because man wants to feel significant and man wants to know that he knows that all. So when you start with a negative question straight away, that will kill the old desire to do the relationship journaling. So as a result, that's why it's a question number 5. So what could be improved in your relationships? And here's a really important point. It has to be 100% open and honest discussion. You should remember it is about growing. It is about just stretching each other and helping each other to learn more about each other, but also about yourself. So when you suggest, what do you think could be improved in relationships? This is not judgment. This is constructive feedback. So please remember that when you ask this question, your partner, it's not about being upset afterwards. It's about welcoming the feedback and think, how could you work on it? And here it's really also great to have a discussion. Okay, what could you two do in order to improve the situation? Because there's a saying, and there's not a surprise that they're saying, that it takes 2 to tango. And when you need 2 people to work on something, you have to have a discussion. All right. And those who are watching me right now, I really wonder, where are you watching me from? Where are you right now? What is the time there? Are you approaching the evening time, which is the perfect timing for relationship journal? Or maybe you're approaching the midday, or maybe it's early morning. So I really would love to know where you're based right now. So actually I can refer, because right now here in UK, it's 1 p.m. It's a midday. So let's go to the next question, which is actually favorite compliment of the week. And the reason why I bring up this particular question into the journal, because very often, especially women, they have tendency to complain about not being complimented by their men. But what happens, very often we don't recognize or we don't pay attention to when we are complimented. So that's why the question is that your favorite compliment of the week. And the reason why it's also there, because once you see that next week I'm going to be asked this question, subconsciously, you will be paying more attention to complimenting your partner. And what happens through compliments? Through compliments, you build chemistry. When a man compliments a woman feel more feminine. And she wants to respond back with something amazing, because now she was complimented. She feels good. She feels girly. She feels all excited. So of course, she's going to respond back to her man accordingly. And I know some people, if you never were complimenting others, it might feel a bit awkward. It might, because if you never received compliments before, especially, you will feel awkward. But at the same time, do you remember when you were learning how to swim? It was a bit strange. Do you remember first time when you were learning how to drive a car? You didn't know how to do it. But now you drive your car, you probably don't even think how you get from work back home. It becomes effortless. And I can see there's beautiful comments here. Thank you, Manuel, for this wonderful comment on LinkedIn. So those who cannot see that, because it is on LinkedIn. Fantastic and extraordinary message. And I'm really glad, Manuel, that you find it really, really helpful. And good morning to you too, because actually it is morning for you. And Antonia, she's wishing great weekend. To you too, darling. Have a wonderful weekend. I hope you enjoy it too. It's quite interesting comment what you say here. It is so hard to not grow apart. People change and start to have different ideas. Thank you. I look forward to your videos every day. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your beautiful comment, and I'm so grateful you watch my videos every day. I hope to bring lots of value to your life and to life also other people if you share my videos. And Manolo, he says, hi Olga, I'm in Pennsylvania and it's 8:25. You see how crazy it is actually. It's 1 8:26 here p.m. and actually it's early morning in Pennsylvania. Oh, that's why, Mandel, you couldn't join me in the morning at 7:30, because for you it's like really ridiculously early in that case. And I can see Shashikant is saying good evening from India. It's 5:56 p.m. How crazy is that? But I love how international we are here. And I would love to hear from you whether you have something similar in your family, in your relationships. Do you have something like relationship journal? Do you track whether you grow with your partner or not? Because just like Antonia said, it's so hard not to grow apart because people change and start having different ideas. But imagine, and Antonia including you, imagine if actually you discuss it. Imagine if you open up. And I must say that I personally was in relationships where I could not share. The reason why I could not share what was on my heart, in my soul, because I didn't feel connected. It took me years to find out that to feel connected, you need to have a communication, really healthy, open, raw, vulnerable communication. And I wish I would know about that before. Probably I could save 15 years of my life. I don't want you to go through that. I would love you to have a wonderful relationships, because what can be better than actually fulfilling, passionate, and really connected relationships? And I love that, Antonia, actually you're based in New York. I turned your video on at work at 8 o'clock, being 8 is 8:27 a.m. Oh wow, that's amazing. So sweet you read the comments. Of course I read, because I want to include you. Why do you think I'm here? Why do you think I'm going live? Because I want to include you into the conversation and I want to help. Because very often I share video and then somebody comments and then I get back to them in a while, and then the flow is not there. So during the live videos, this is the opportunity for you to ask me questions and I'm here to answer them, right? And I can see that Abnai says, fantastic motivational speech. You're so welcome. It's my pleasure. And Zunai says, people don't change, it's time and priorities. Everyone should learn to keep the balance in relationships. This is so true. But how do you keep the balance if you don't know each other? But how can you know when is the time to keep the balance? How do you know when is the time to recalibrate your relationships if you don't know each other? You see, only through learning about each other, the habits and the mood swings and what triggers you or your partner, only this way you can actually learn about each other more and help each other being really, really well balanced. So thank you so much for your comments. So yes, that's why I'm going live, so you can interact with me. And I love reading your comments. I love to hear where you're from. That really gives me that little buzz and excitement. That's really wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing your location and the time as well. It's amazing. And I can see Shashikant is saying, missed your live broadcast previous days due to my training time crossed, but now that's changed and watching you live now. And thank you so very much for joining me. It's a pleasure having you here with me. Thank you. And if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them, or suggestions. But I always say that I don't support promoting here, because I do this effort to go live and to share my content. But there were some cases when people were promoting some of other stuff, and I always say, let's respect each other, right? This is my value to you guys, and you're welcome to share your tips or your tricks, because we are here to inspire and help each other. So I'm going to go now to the last question of the journal, which is the question number 7. What would you like to do next week? And the reason why I have this question in the journal, because this opens up the conversation. This gives the room to discuss things. What would you like to do? And throw some suggestions. And I always say it's really good to have a little jar, and you can put little suggestions on little notes and put them into the jar. And then once a week you can pick up something, or twice a week or 3 times a week, depends how often you want to do it and how much time you have in your hands. But when you have lots of suggestions in this jar with activities you would like to do, to go somewhere, a particular movie to watch, or even just to have like little walks somewhere, you can always be surprised by something what you pull out of that jar. right? So here, what would you like to do next week? It's either suggestions which could be brought up in the conversation between you two, or it could be done with a little jar, which actually is really exciting to make, because whenever you hear about, oh, I would like to go to that concert, let's write it down on a note and let's put in a jar. Or it could be, I would like to go to, let's say, some particular country, put on a note and put in a jar. Or would be really great to watch that movie, or whatever it is, right? You can always put these ideas, throw them in a jar, and then once in a while pull them out, because that could be really powerful. And I have seen here another comment from Antonia. I have been watching your videos all week. Oh, bless you, darling. Thank you so very much. You are amazing, so positive. Thank you. Want to keep watching to help improve myself. And you're so welcome. Yes, it is my aim to live a very positive life. I do my best to do that. Today, actually, during the session in the morning, client of mine asked me, Olga, but do you always stay so positive? I mean, I know you're the coach, but it's kind of unrealistic to be positive all the time. And I answered, look, if I know how to get myself out of negative situation or out of negative mood, that means I will get back to positive even quicker. But to say I'm 100% positive 100% of the time, that will be like saying sun is always staying up in the sky and never goes down. Right? Nothing is permanent. So of course I have my own moments. Of course I get angry even sometimes, right? Like the other days, I was getting really frustrated because the live session was interrupted because of bad broadband connection, and therefore I'm right now in my living room. So you are technically at my house right now, right? And I was getting frustrated because the broadband connection wasn't great. So as a result, I thought, okay, let me just come up with a solution. Whilst my broadband provider is fixing the issue, I can be at home, and you're right now at my living room. So welcome to Olga's home. It's a pleasure having you here. So yes, I'm doing my best to be positive all the time, but of course it's not realistic, but I know how to get myself out of negative state, out of negative thinking, because everybody's facing that. And there's a beautiful comment on LinkedIn from Marcel. People develop and grow. Very true. Doing that together, positive, connected is great. This is very true. Thanks a lot. And I agree with you. Yes, when you do it together, this is when you grow together. Like anything, think of your friends. Think of your friends, those friends whom you know from school age, maybe university age, maybe from the army or anywhere else, right? Think of your friends. If you don't grow together with your friends, you end up having different interests, different hobbies, different lifestyles. And what do? You grow apart. So if this happens with your friendship, what do you think will happen with your intimate relationships? It will be exactly the same journey. So yes, thank you so much, Marcel, for sharing that. It's really amazing. Howard, thank you for this comment. 30 minutes into the show, and I didn't hear the word trust yet. Surely this is the most important thing in any relationship. Howard, oh, this is such a powerful question. Thank you so much for bringing it up. I must say, after working with so many people, and after working on myself, by myself, and also with other coaches, I must say that trust, probably will not like it, Howard, but trust starts with yourself. If you don't trust yourself, you will never trust others. And what I mean trusting yourself? Trusting your own choices, trusting your own decisions, trusting your own actions. When you have regrets and when you don't trust yourself, this is when actually you stop trusting others. So yes, of course, 100%, trust is important in relationships. But you know what's the most amazing, magical things? When you are really connected, because of you have amazing communication, when you have great chemistry and you're fully committed, trust is inevitable. It is there by default because of all these 3 C's. So remember, it is connection, which is coming through communication. It's really easy to remember. It is CC, connection, communication. It is chemistry, which is built through the communication because you open up, you become raw. Of course, physical appearance is really important, but I'm sure you wouldn't go ahead with somebody with whom you wouldn't have that physical attraction anyways, right? Unless you're really desperate, which is never healthy. We never want to be desperate. And I would love to actually bring this discussion into another video about why people go into relationships and how important it is to keep great, healthy gap in between relationships. And of course, when you're committed. So when these 3Cs are met, trust is inevitable, is a natural thing, because naturally children trust their parents because they don't have trust issues. So thank you, Howard. I'm so grateful you brought this question into this discussion, because I'm sure so many other people also had this question, and I hope that actually this helps to understand it. And thank you, Shashikan, saying that I'll try to learn uploading videos on YouTube next week. That's wonderful, Taz. That's amazing. And it's absolutely all right, Abhay. I understand you had to leave. He's saying, sorry for leaving due to urgent work. It becomes necessary. Bye, take care, carry on. I definitely will, but this video will stay here so you can watch it later. And Munish, yes, I agree with you. Long distance relationships, by the way, these comments are on LinkedIn. Long distance relationships suffer a lot. And this is true. And I can relate to you quite a lot. However, let's remember that again, when you connect with your partner and you have that really good, strong connection through communication, you have video calls nowadays, you have text messages, WhatsApps, you can do Snapchatting. There's so many tools how you can stay in touch with your partner, that the only thing which is missing is a physical connection. You can have dinners together on a live video call, pretty much everything what we were doing during the lockdown with people around the world, you can do with your partner during the long-term relationships which are in a distance, because you will also be able to meet the chemistry, and also you can 100% be committed to each other if you choose to. And when you meet all these 3Cs, then your relationship will be really healthy and it will survive. Because again, if you're not committed, which is the third C, you will not be in these relationships, right? So as long as the 3Cs are met, it is connection, it is chemistry and commitment, your relationship will work out. And I love this comment from Madhav, says, you are positive and practical as well. Thank you for inspiring. It is my pleasure. That's why I'm here, to help inspire, hopefully educate and motivate as well. Let me read this quite a long comment. Let's see what it's going to bring up. So Nair is saying, just for discussion, it is on LinkedIn, by the way. It is natural. You only create relation with the person with whom you're synergy at the same level. Then, of course, small compromises are always there. But I believe after trying for some time, and if it's not happening, you should give up and find a new person. Wow. This is a really good question, actually. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I must say, this is something what many people come to my office to work on. In fact, many people, particularly one lady, I remember, she came to me and she was sobbing during the entire session because her partner, with whom supposedly they had perfect relationships, left her, and she was so heartbroken. You'll be surprised that within half an hour of the session, we start working on who would be her perfect partner, and she suddenly realized that her partner wasn't the right one, and she spent with him 17 years of her life. So it is a bit tricky, Tanaya, because when you're doing your best from your side only to improve relationships, it's almost like you are knocking the door which is locked. In order for you to go through the door, there should be another person on the other side unlocking the door, right? Or another person unlocking the door and inviting you. So whether it is you or your partner, one of you will initiate that. It is very rare that both partners at the same time decide to grow together. It very rarely happens in the world. So here it's about how committed you are. How much do you love your partner? Why did you choose your partner? Would you like to stay with your partner? And if all answers are yes, in that case, yes, keep talking. But again, It's how do you address the part of growing together. Whether you say to your partner, if we're not going to grow together, I'm going to leave you, that's one thing. Or you address to your partner a discussion about, darling, I really love you and I would love to grow together. I would love us both being so connected. Why don't we try doing that together? These are two different sides of how we can approach that. So here's really important to remember that it is about, again, going back to square one, having great communication, because when you communicate to your partner the importance, the urgency of you growing together and why it is important to you, then if they are committed as well and if they want to grow together, they will. However, if person doesn't want to grow, if you feel deeply unhappy, I would always strongly suggest start working on yourself. What happens very often, our partners, they are mirroring us. So let's say you don't feel you have enough attention from your partner. Very often that will indicate that you don't give yourself enough of attention. Or if you don't feel loved by your partner, my question always is, do you love yourself and do you show love to yourself? So can you see how it is really important before you give up, talk to your partner first of all, and then second of all, work on yourself, on some issues which potentially you have from previous relationships, maybe from your family. It's really helpful to go see a coach because together you can tackle and get to nitty-gritty. Why do you feel the way you feel? And what is amazing, I call it overnight success, which is of course is not overnight. But what is amazing when clients are coming back to my office, some of them are crying, some of them are not, but it's amazing when actually people come back to my office and they say, Olga, overnight, things just got fixed. It doesn't happen overnight. That's not true. It feels for them that it is overnight because the change was so gradual, they haven't paid attention when the switch happened and they changed. And as a result, this is the most remarkable thing. As a result, their partner also changed because partner adapts. You see, we are the energy and we are vibrating and we are showing our attitude. We're showing everything what we project to other people. So when you project something, you receive the same back because it's just a natural law of reciprocation. Just like when you give in relationships 100%, you will receive 100%. All right. So I hope it helps, Naya, but thank you so much for your question. And Antonia, thank you so much for your question here. It is hard when one person is trying more than the other one. It is not only draining, but not fair. What would you recommend on this? What a wonderful question, Antonia. Honestly, I love it so much. You see, very often people don't even know that they have to grow. So let me take you to this situation. So imagine there are two boys in a really poor area. And one of them is playing, let's say, games indoors at home with his sister. Another boy standing outside. And for some reason, that day in that poor area, there's a Ferrari driving by, I don't know, maybe to collect some rent from the tenants. That was a landlord, or maybe it just because got lost, and that's why he's driving that. So that boy who saw that Ferrari, he was exposed to Ferrari. That will inspire him, and he will think to himself, one day I want to drive that car. One day I want to be at the steering wheel of that car. The other boy will never want that because he never seen it. He might want it later if he will come across, but there is no guarantee. So the same happens in your relationships. When you were never exposed, when you were never shown, when you were never explained that it is important to grow, how do you know? Like, for example, right now, you're with me on this live video and you hear this information, so you are exposed to this and now you can take it away and apply it. And especially if you will want to receive a copy of Relationship Journal, which is 7-week challenge, I can send it to you, then you can work on it. And by the way, anybody else, whether it is Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, please send me private message or share your details below if you want to receive private journal, or even just type below, please send me a relationship journal. I'm more than happy to send it to you so you can work on your relationships. So you see here, it is about opening up with your partner. Again, going back to square one, right? Going back to communication in order to build connection. Going back to your partner and saying, darling, it is important for me to grow together because of X, Y, Z. And you explain. And you explain your pain. You explain your vision you see together, two of you. And you explain what would happen if you will not grow, right? And when you put this perspective in front of the other person, if they really value you, they will do it. But if they don't value you and they are in relationship just for the sake of relationships, Antonia, there's so many people out there. And some people you meet for the reason. Some people are just there to teach you a lesson. In that case, what lesson have you learned with him? And what can you do with that? And it's amazing comment here from Zunais who says, finding the right person is a gamble. If you lose, then no problem. Life is short. Keep going. And end of life, you will have some memories to share with the new generation. This is so true. But you know, Zanaya, what is really amazing thing? You find the right person when you found yourself. You got to know yourself, who you are, in order to find out what will match you. It's almost like, can you find a pair of shoes for yourself and buy it and be comfortable wearing them if you don't know your shoe size? No, you can't. Can you buy some clothing online without knowing your dress size? How are you going to buy it? You buy one size fits all, but it doesn't. It's going to look too baggy on one person who is too skinny, and it's going to look ridiculous, and some person won't even fit if they're overweight, but this is for skinny person, right? So in order to know what do you want, what partner you want in your life, you need to know who you are. It happens through growing, through working on yourself. And I would like to finish off because we're getting to nearly an hour. But before I finish off, let me read this beautiful comment here from Manolo. Yes, I did not love myself. Thank you, Manolo, for sharing that. I really appreciate that. So vulnerable. I have been working for the last couple of months on growing internally and spiritually, learning about my consciousness. Thank you so very much sharing this raw, really open share. This is amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And that's how powerful it is. You got to know yourself. You got to really connect with yourself. As you say, they're growing internally. That's right. Spiritually, learning about my consciousness. And if everybody could take example and learn from you, that would be absolutely amazing. That'll be really beautiful. Thank you, Shashikan, for your comment. You can't change other person but yourself. And when you do it for someone you love, you gain divine fulfillment. This is so true. Thank you so much for your shares. Thank you so much for your amazing, amazing stories here, for your vulnerability, for your rawness. I really appreciate that. I'm here to share stories with you. I'm here to inspire you, to motivate you, hopefully. If it helps, I'll be really, really, really keen to receive your feedback. In fact, I've received so many beautiful messages from people who actually say it's so inspiring. And that makes me so happy because that means there's another life who actually got inspired today. And this is amazing. And as I said, I'm just about to finish off. So thank you so much for being with me. But before I finish off, let me share with you this story. Client of mine came to my office literally recently, and I mentioned this story already recently during another live, but because it's so relationship related and it's so related to Manolo's comment about loving yourself. With him, we worked since November last year. And of course, there have been a couple of months and there were some struggles and of course some wobbles. This is very natural. We all have wobbles. And he was keep working on himself, keep working. And then last week he came to my office to meet face to face because we are slightly opening up so I could see him face to face. And he said, Olga, you will not believe it. Do you remember what you said to me on session number 1? And I'll be honest, I couldn't remember. I have notes, but I cannot remember everything. It's like an hour-long session or even sometimes longer, right? So how can I remember? But then he said, Olga, you told me when I will work on myself, when I will raise my masculinity, when I will step into my greatness, when I will be truly myself, authentic me, then only I'll be able to meet somebody at my level. And he did. And he was crying out of happiness. And that's how powerful it is. And he was in a really emotionally abusive relationships. If you think only ladies are facing that, this is not true. I work with plenty of men who went through emotional abuse from women. Right? So he had to literally rebuild himself, his confidence, his stamina, his self-esteem, and now he's in a happy relationships. How amazing is that? And that's the beautiful journey you can have when you learn about yourself. So whether you are in relationships or you're on your own, it is important to work on yourself. But if you're in relationships and you would like to make sure you grow together, just like in the parallel, going together all the time, just like the railway, the rails of the train, then you need relationship journal. Please send me a message if you would like to receive a copy. I'm more than happy to send it to you privately. It will be not automatic, as I said before. I had a true pleasure having you with me today on the show. It was wonderful to read your comments. It was wonderful to find out where you're based and what time it is. Thank you so much for joining me, whether it is your morning, afternoon, or evening. Stay blessed. Or what did you implement as a result of this session? Thank you so very much. You stay healthy, stay blessed. Much love. And see you on Monday at 7:30 at my 10 minutes inspiration in the morning. Well, it's UK time, 7:30 a.m. UK time. And also I will go live at 1 p.m. with more content. How exciting is that? So have an enjoyable weekend. Enjoy that, and I'll see you next week.